Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yesterday, against the backdrop of a hot summery day at Sydney's Bondi Beach, where the Jewish community had gathered to celebrate Hanukkah and hundreds of local beachgoers mingled with the usual mix of tourists, terror was unleashed. This appears to have been an act of anti-Semitism in all its ugliness and cruelty, and I join every world leader in utterly condemning the perpetrators and those who encouraged, supported or fostered them. Australia and New Zealand are closer than friends. We are family, and when something like this happens to our family, we feel it all deeply. Our thoughts are first and foremost with those who lost loved ones and those who were injured. As we know, many of the victims were at Bondi to participate in Hanukkah celebrations with their Jewish community. Hanukkah should be a time of peace and joy, not of pain and grief. I am thinking of Jewish communities everywhere who are grieving and having to process yet another act of senseless violence targeted at them. We stand in solidarity with the people of the Jewish faith in Australia, New Zealand and all around the world. Terrorism and hate have no place in our societies. Violence of any kind is unacceptable, whether it is targeted at people of Jewish or any other faith. We all need to call out intolerance when we see it. There is room in this world for everyone to live side by side at peace. At this stage, we have no indication that any New Zealanders have been injured in the attack. I reached out to Prime Minister Anthony Albanese last night to tell him that New Zealanders' thoughts are with all Australians and to offer our support, and he was thankful for that. We stand ready to work with the Australian authorities should they need our help. I've also spoken with Jewish community leadership in New Zealand to reaffirm our abhorrence for anti-Semitism and to reiterate the government's commitment to ensuring the safety and inclusion of Jewish people in our country. Police have also been working with our Jewish communities, and there will be an increased police presence around the country, including additional patrols at significant sites of Jewish worship around New Zealand. The current terrorism threat level for New Zealand remains the same, which is that a terrorist attack is a realistic possibility. The threat level is continually assessed, as you know, and can change at any time. I know that many people will be feeling understandably shaken and concerned by what's happened, so let's all continue to look after each other, especially our Australian and our Jewish friends at this time. If I can change gears, just quickly looking ahead to the rest of this week, tomorrow the half-year economic and fiscal update will be released, and on Thursday the latest GDP figures will be out. Obviously I won't be speculating or commenting on either of those in any detail today. As we close out the year, however, can I just say a big thank you to my ministers, the MPs and coalition partners for all of their work this year. We all recognise that a strong, stable government allows us to achieve the things that New Zealanders voted for, and that's what we're delivering. And I also want to thank each and every one of you in the press gallery as well. Our government has pushed through a lot of legislation and some pretty chunky reforms at great pace this year, and you've kept up with us the whole way through, challenging us and also keeping the public informed. So can I say thank you and have a Merry Christmas to each and every one of you as well. I do have quite limited time today and I need to leave here by 3 at the latest, so I'll take a few questions before we have to go.
Are you planning to meet with members of the Jewish community?
Sorry?
Are you planning to meet with members of the Jewish community here, Prime Minister?
Yes, I will be meeting with members of the Jewish community shortly. Yep.
Place.
Sorry?
When will that be taking place?
I'm not going to go into details. It's a private meeting, but I really want to express my solidarity with the Jewish people, and I want to be able to do that privately.
The memorial service in Australia, is it likely that you would attend that?
Yes, look, obviously, if and also on timings, but yes, that's something I would definitely consider.
What do you make of Benjamin Netanyahu's comments to Anthony Albanese, seeming to suggest that Australia could have prevented this attack?
Look, I'm not going to comment on Australian domestic politics. The important thing I think today is actually for us to be expressing tremendous solidarity for the Jewish people. I spoke to Jewish leadership this morning, and again, as you can well understand, the community feels it keenly, as do we all. And I think today is not the day for commenting on those politics.
Prime Minister, based on the advice you've received since this attack, how concerned are you that something like this could be repeated in New Zealand, or do you think it's something more indigenous to, I guess, the domestic politics of Australia?
Look, I just want to acknowledge that each society, each country, frankly, has quite a different set of dynamics and threats within it. What's important is actually that we're responding to the threats that we see, and I feel that we are. I have met, if you think about it, we are doing 3 things, really. The first is, making sure that police are getting their arms around the Jewish community and even offering them more support and more patrolling and whatever else they need to be reassured. The second thing, as you know, is that we were asked in February earlier this year about supporting, and it's been a thing since 2019, making sure that we actually give support for stronger hardening and protecting of key places of worship across the country. And then thirdly, we've actually ensured that we have some very constructive dialogues with the Jewish community directly and the council directly, but also from government level, but also in interfaith groups as well. So, we're doing everything we can. I just want to reassure the Jewish people here in New Zealand, and I want them to feel safe. And so, frankly, that's partly why I want to meet with them in a bigger group.
You used to live in Sydney. I mean, just personally, what was it like seeing something like that happen on Bondi Beach, which is sort of the most carefree, all-comers environment you can imagine?
Yeah, I mean, I know many of you have lived in Sydney as well, and I lived there for 5 years, and you're shocked and appalled to think that something like that could happen in a place where is where so much fun typically takes place. And I have to be honest, as I watched those images late last night, and into the early hours of this morning, it was really sickening. And your thoughts immediately go to the families of loved ones who lost someone yesterday. You think about the people that are fighting for their lives in hospital right now. There were incredible stories again of first responders, but also incredible stories of just people in the local community coming down onto the beach and helping where they could and can. And again, that's why I say to the Jewish community in Australia, but also in New Zealand, all around the world, we stand with you, because this is a moment where I want to express maximum solidarity.
About the need to call out intolerance when you see it. Have you seen that sort of intolerance here in New Zealand recently?
No, it's just consistent with my messaging, as you know, since I've become Prime Minister, which is I think all of us have a responsibility to watch our rhetoric, to think about who we're associating with and what messages we may be consciously or unconsciously sending, and that's all I mean by that.
The New Zealand Jewish Council has reported a rise in anti-Semitic behaviour since October the 7th. Do you think the Jewish community in New Zealand is less safe or safer than it was before October the 7th?
We're doing everything we can to make sure they feel supported, and that's what's really important to me. And the fact that we can actually have a dialogue where they can express what's happening in their community and how they're feeling about it. It's essentially what happened earlier in the year. That's what led to Mark Mitchell and myself deciding to extend more funds available and extending funding to them so that they can actually harden up more of security around their places of worship. Again, I want them to feel safe in this country, as I want to see. This is a country that has, is now a significant multicultural country, and we want to be able to be a place where, irrespective of your faith and your religion, you can practice that in peace and live alongside others who have different faiths as well. And so, for me, it's important that we're doing everything we can to make sure that they feel safe.
Is the threat against the Jewish community more elevated than it was on October the 7th?
I think there have been increasing levels of anti-Semitism that they have experienced, but the fact that we can talk about that and the fact that we can put plans in place to make sure that they feel reassured, that they have security and the support that they need is important. Mark.
So acknowledging that you did dedicate funding from the Emergency Priorities Fund in a one-off, the Jewish and Muslim communities had also asked you to extend the Safer Communities Fund, which expired in the middle of this year. Is that something that you could commit to doing now?
Yeah, irrespective of which fund it came out of, it's more important they get the money and the funding to be able to make sure they harden up their environments, which they've been able to do. And again, very open to continuing that. That's not the main event here. I mean, the money is available, and we'll make it available. Frankly,
I think the distinction was, it's a one-off bespoke process with the Emerging Priorities Fund. The Safer Communities Fund could be an ongoing stream of funding.
Yeah, look, as to which fund it comes out of, I'm less hung up on it. It was just a question of what criteria was met and out of which funds it goes in and out of. But it's more important for me that they can feel like they did in February, that they can express a desire for having more funding continued, and it's been well deployed and well used. And if it makes them all feel safer, that's really what it's about.
So you're open to providing more if that's
Absolutely,
needed as well.
yeah.
We're still learning details about the shooting, but from what we can see, it doesn't look like it was a military-style automatic type firearm. Given the death toll, the scale of injuries, is it reassuring in a domestic sense that your government didn't liberalise access to MSSAs? Reflecting on gun violence in our two countries?
Again, that'll be a subject for the Australian investigation as to which firearms were used or not used. But from our point of view, with respect to our firearms reforms, we've been very clear from day one, which is that we want to enhance public safety, not diminish it, and that's what we've been doing, and that's what we're doing with the Arms Act rewrite, which is, as you know, a 40-year-old 20-year-old piece of legislation that does need updating, but that's been very much the lens by which we've talked about it through, and that's why you haven't seen any change to military-style rifles, for example.
Yeah, that rationale being the why national pushback against ACT's request to allow competitive shooters to have MSSAs. You weren't comfortable with that, you saw that as a public safety issue.
I think I was very clear with all of you from day one that actually, we'll do a review of the register, but the register is continuing, and we'll make sure that actually there is public safety is enhanced, and therefore that means that military-style rifles there's no change.
Have you been advised of any incidents of concern since the attack yesterday that have happened here?
No.
How long do you expect the increased police presence outside places of worship, etc., to exist for?
It'll go for as long as they wish. I mean, essentially, there's already been a level of protection actually over the last year as well. So there were a number of events that were celebrating day one of Hanukkah yesterday. They already had some police presence there. We're just making sure, as of 11 o'clock last night, the police have been talking to the community directly and making sure that they have everything that they need to feel safe. And if that means stepping up even further patrolling, we're comfortable to do that. And the police have met again this morning as well.
Mark's question. So if the call from those particular communities comes and says we need more funding to boost our security measures, the government will step up to the plate for that.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't. I mean, in the case of we've been essentially funding hardening of and security since 2019, and for these communities, and it's important that they do feel safe. Our government, as you saw earlier this year, has continued that on. We've created the Peace and Harmony dialogue, which has been very helpful. I've had a regular meeting and cadence of meetings with interfaith groups in my office together as well, talking about these issues. So, we want to make sure that they feel supported, loved, and included here in New Zealand.
It reported that one of the shooters had ties to Islamic State and had previously been reviewed by the Australian Domestic Intelligence Agency. Would you like our intelligence agencies to look over again, review any people in New Zealand who had previously been found to have ties to Islamic State?
Look, again, I sort of will stick to my policy, which I've had from day one, which is I won't talk about intelligence issues here in New Zealand. But, that's not surprising that, I guess that's an issue for the Australian intelligence agencies to think through. But from my own point of view, I'm just not going to touch that one.
Should our intelligence agencies, as a matter of course, though, be checking in to make sure that there hasn't been any updates of people previously found to have links to terrorist organisations?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to go into our intelligence matters and conversations. Yeah.
Are there any policy changes that you're looking at as a result of this, appointing an anti-Semitism envoy or anything else?
Look, it's really about making sure the community feels really supported, and they do. We've had good engagement with the senior leadership of the Jewish Council and communities here in New Zealand. We've had really open channels of dialogue. You've seen it follow through with really increased investment to make sure that they feel safe and protected. And we're going to continue. And you've seen really good engagement with police, for example, as well. So we'll continue to make sure that they feel supported. And I think, as I said, each society has a completely different set of dynamics and also threats. And it's really important that we respond to the threats that we see here in New Zealand, and actually they feel supported.
On a slightly different topic, obviously your last postcard, are you going to continue the tradition in the new year of setting the election date early in the new year?
Yes, I think I will. Yes.
And good. Do you plan on an early year reshuffle as well?
Again, as you know, I have a different approach probably from former leaders. I will reshuffle my team whenever I feel it needs one, because it's important that I've got the right person on the right assignment at the right time. And any time I feel a change, I'll make that change. But I don't feel incumbent to do one just for the sake of the new year.
Just on these meetings that you're having this afternoon, are you able to confirm if that was Jewish community leaders reaching out, requesting that meeting, or did you offer it to them? And what message would you like to convey to them?
Yeah, look, it's a private meeting. I spoke with them, some of the Jewish leadership this morning. It's me reaching out saying I want to express solidarity with them, and I just want to be able to go privately and talk with them and see how they're travelling today.
Minister, what would you say to New Zealanders that are worried about our gun reforms, or that there's any sort of weakening or loosening of regulations here?
Well, there hasn't been.
If there could be,
no, there hasn't been.
You can give an ironclad guarantee that the reforms will lead
Well, I think
New Zealand in the
we've
same
had 4
place.
phases of reforms, as you understand, over the last 2 years, and if you go through each of the phases, you're seeing that enhancing public safety has been a priority.
In Australia, how do we avoid Australia's mistakes?
Sorry?
Given what's happened in Australia, sort of to Annika's point, how do we avoid
Well, let's
Australia's
let
mistakes?
Australia go through its own investigation. I'm not going to presuppose what we think has or hasn't happened in Australia. It's important that they run through their own investigation, as we would reasonably do so if it happened in our country. But all I can say is that I have to deal with the threats that I see here in New Zealand, and we as a government deal with those. We need to make sure that all communities feel that they are included in this country. Our diversity, our multiculturalism is a huge strength. It's a huge source of great social power, I think, in New Zealand, something we should be celebrating. And I just want to make sure that when we have communities like this that are often at risk internationally, that they feel safe in our own country, and that's really what it's about today.
Prime Minister,
Did your Finance Minister discuss with you her plans to challenge Ruth Richardson to a debate so publicly and kind of dominate last week with that discussion?
No, but I fully support her ability to want to defend herself and also the record of this government. Yeah.
Do you want to attend Ruth Richardson versus...
I won't be attending. I've got a few other things on my mind. Yep.
Did you suggest to her not to take part in that debate?
No. Just she's right to defend herself and defend our government, and I fully support that. But again, I just say to you, we've got a bit going on this week, and there's a bit going on in the world, so I'm focused there.
Just on that though, do you think it's a bit of a distraction? I mean, we've got haifu, we've got GDP numbers. Do we need a debate between a finance minister who's in the role now and a formal one?
Well, again, I think she's quite okay to defend herself. I think that's important that she does do that. I think it is important that she feels she can defend the record of this government and the approach of this government and what we're doing with respect to our fiscal strategy. That's perfectly reasonable. I think you would have seen last week, we had major RMA reform. I think that was well understood. It was well supported across the country. This week we've got haifu. Tomorrow, on Thursday, we'll have the GDP growth numbers. I think what's important is that for most New Zealanders, they're really focused on Christmas. They're focused on Christmas shopping. And they need to know that actually we're going into Christmas with the economy building and with good momentum.
The Minister could establish that defence without a debate though, couldn't she?
Well, again, I'm quite comfortable with her defending herself and our record in government.
Detract from the RMA announcement?
No.
do you have an update on when it's going to take place?
No.
Who would you like to see moderated?
Guys, I don't really care, and I think that's the end of this press conference. Thank you very much. I'll carry on to 3 o'clock.
What do you make of the high frequency indicators going into Christmas?
Sorry?
What do you make of the high frequency economic indicators going into Christmas? Is this going to be the most kind of growthy Christmas you've seen as Prime Minister?
Well, I mean, we've been working an economic plan from day one, as we said. You know, it's pretty serious what we inherited in terms of the mess around spending, debt and tax. We've been following a plan that's been about fixing a lot of basics and things that we lost formation on over 6 years. But we've also been an eye to building out for the future. And we've been following our plan. As I've said to you earlier in the year, it's been two-speed as a recovery. There's parts of the country that are experiencing that growth. There are other parts that haven't. We've just clocked up 2 years. We've done a hell of a lot of work. And actually, it's been really encouraging now to see that more and more New Zealanders are starting to feel the benefits of that growth, or can see that they're going to feel the benefits of it. And I want them not just to hear about the improving stats. That's an important step, and it's important to stop the when we're hearing so many negative stats, it's important that we start, they're positive. But I now want New Zealanders to feel it. That's really the bit that is the transmission into how they feel, and they actually can feel the difference. And so, many New Zealanders are. As I said, we've had record years with our primary industries. We've had outstanding parts. If you go to the Christchurch, the South Island, Hawke's Bay, even with horticulture off the back of primary industries, there's been huge amounts of growth, and people are getting the benefits and feeling the benefits of that. And they've been able to restore their balance sheets if they're business people through having come through COVID, having come through the recession and high inflation, high interest rates periods. But I want more New Zealanders to feel that. So it's been encouraging to see job numbers going up, housing affordability being better, retail spending, business confidence, farmer confidence. All of those things are good signs. Now the challenge and the exciting work is we are going to see a recovery, and the recovery is coming. The question is, we now want to shape that recovery so we set this country up for a really great long-term future over the next decades ahead of us, and that's what it's all about. Okay, team, I have to go.
Are you looking forward to being interviewed by Toba O'Brien every week on breakfast?
I haven't thought about that. Thank you, team. See ya.